Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing when they realize you've gone. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing when they realize you've gone. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you might contemplate moving forward with your life. But what happens when your ex feels that you've gone? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing the 3 likely feelings your ex will have if and when they realize you've gone. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is okay. So point number 1 is the likely feeling that your ex-dumper will have for you if they believe and feel that you've now moved forward with your life and are no longer in and around waiting for them in their orbit. This will be the feeling of okay. Now, you as a dumpee might be listening to this and thinking, well, that's not great. I want to try to get my ex back. The last thing I want them to do and to feel if I decide to move forward is actually feel okay. But please continue to listen and I will explain how this isn't necessarily going to be your ex-dumper's final position. Now, when I say they feel okay, if you imagine it's okay with a few dots after it, okay? So what we're trying to get across here is more of a okay. So it's almost like an accepted, yes, I'm fine, this is all right, this is what I wanted, but I'm a little surprised. It's that kind of okay. And the reason for this, although the fact it's very unlikely that your ex-dumper wanted you to contact them, chase them, remain in their orbit after the breakup, the likelihood is your ex-dumper somewhat expected you to remain in their orbit, expected you to periodically text them. So it's a bit of a strange situation. Your ex-dumper doesn't want you to chase them, but they almost expect you to. So when they get the feeling that you've actually gone, this can be somewhat of a, okay, I didn't really see that coming, but that's fine. You know, I ended the relationship, that's okay. So when we consider this position right now, the dumper is going to be feeling like everything is now aligned with what they wanted consciously, but subconsciously, the confusion is still going to move around their mindset. And this is where a dumper can feel confused because consciously this is exactly what they want. They don't want you as a dumpee to bother them. They want you as a dumpee to leave them alone so they can live their life the way they've chosen to. But subconsciously, they just didn't expect you would do this. Now, this is somewhat to do with the situation the dumper finds themselves in just before the breakup takes place. So if we move back a little while, what in essence would have happened is, sadly, your ex-dumper would have lost romantic emotional attraction for you, the dumpee. And when it hit the necessary low point of attraction towards you, this is when they would have been considering to themselves, you know what, I think I need to be going down a different path. Now, I don't think this relationship is going to be fulfilling. I don't think this relationship is going to satisfy me. I don't believe this is the connection that I need moving forward. And if and when the attraction hits that low point, that is when they will likely action the breakup. They take the course of a breakup because they do not believe that this connection right now that you are within is going to satisfy them moving forward into the future. So when they make that choice, they are set in their mind of moving in a different direction, on a different path. And you, in their conscious mind, are not going to be part of that, certainly not in a romantic sense. You know, some dumpers will try to keep their dumpee around in a platonic sense. And as a side note, I strongly suggest as a dumpee, you do not accept platonic friendship. This doesn't mean you have to be rude about it. But if your ex-dumper asks if you would like to remain friends, I would say in your own words, you know, I would always see you as more than a friend. So unfortunately, that's just not going to work for me. Because if you accept platonic friendship, you will get platonic friendship. It's very unlikely that you'll be able to escape the friend zone, which if you accept it, is ultimately what you're likely to try and do, escape the friend zone later down the line and reconnect romantically, that is not likely to happen. So just be very, very careful if your dumper offers you friendship and you think, I'm going to accept this, because unless you actually want platonic friendship yourself, then this is not likely to satisfy you moving forward. So with the dumper moving on their own path, maybe they offer the ex friendship, maybe they don't, they are not going to be consciously wanting their dumpee around them in this romantic way. And that is why when they find out or believe that their ex-dumpee has moved on, moved forward, gone, then this is going to be a feeling that they're going to be thinking, okay, I'm a bit surprised, but yeah, that's fine. And this is where we have to consider what moves on beyond this point. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is I wonder. Now, I think it's important at this stage to really discuss what I mean by saying you as a dumpee have gone. When I say you have gone, I referenced it a little earlier about you no longer being in their orbit. So this means that you're no longer going to be texting them, calling them, knocking on their door, waiting outside where they work. In essence, you are not trying to put yourself in and around the life of your dumper. Now, some of you dumpees wouldn't have done this for a while, if ever, anyway, and that is good. Because if you've been dumped in most instances, I strongly suggest that you never contact your ex again, unless they contact you first. However, there will be a number of dumpees who try to get their ex back by remaining within the world of the dumper, hanging on to wherever they can. Maybe they have a dumper who is polite enough to respond to the odd text message, and the dumpee thinks I can grow this. Now, sadly, that is very unlikely to be the case. You probably have a dumper who is very, very polite or very, very concerned about you, and maybe they are the reasons as to why they are responding. But if you're listening to today's podcast, I would suggest that you're not really seeing any movement on this. You're not really seeing any progress. And this is because, sadly, your ex-dumper, as mentioned earlier, has lost romantic emotional attraction towards you. And when somebody loses attraction, it doesn't matter what you do, what you say, unless they are feeling it themselves, unless the attraction comes from within how they feel about you, you can't change their mind. You can't persuade them. Now, if you change your behavior, if you live your life a different way, then the feelings of romantic emotional attraction can grow organically in your ex-dumper's mind. So in some regards, your actions can grow that attraction, but you can't do it within the realms of trying to persuade your ex. You can try and alter their stance of attraction towards you by your attitude and behavior from afar, but you can't persuade them. You can't beg, you can't plead, you can't reason. So this is what we're talking about when I say that you've gone. You're no longer contacting your ex. You're no longer showing up in certain situations where your ex is. Whatever your scenario, which I appreciate will be unique to you, this is not going to make your ex feel that you're within their world at this moment. And there could be other elements at play as well. Your ex-dumper might be under the belief that you're dating new people. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But for whatever reason, they feel that you are, or they feel that you're doing new activities, new hobbies, new interests that they was not aware of, that you were interested in previously. If they find information like this out by a third party in some regard, this could be another reason as for why your ex-dumper believes you've gone. They believe that you have changed tact, changed course, changed pathway and changed route, just as they have themselves. That is what I mean by when I say that you have gone. So point number 2, when we consider how your ex-dumper is going to feel once they realise that you've gone, is the fact that they're now wondering about you. So first of all, in point number 1, they felt, well, that's fine, okay. Bit surprised, but yeah, whatever. But point number 2, as the weeks and months tip by, they're likely to wonder about you. They're likely to be surprised about hearing that you're doing new things that you never showed an interest in before. They're likely surprised that you're not texting them, even though they're somewhat happy you aren't. They're still surprised, and this surprise does turn into wonder. If my ex-dumpee isn't texting me, well, who are they texting? If my ex-dumpee isn't involved in this situation anymore, then what situation are they involved in? I've heard my dumpee is doing this new hobby and that new activity. I wonder why. I wonder who they're doing it with. I wonder who they're mixing with now. This type of wonder is likely to flood a dumper's mind as the weeks and the months tick by. Now, of course, this will be somewhat connected to their own life, depending on how busy they are as a person and their own situation. Sometimes a dumper will be dating themselves, somebody new. I know you don't want to hear that, dumpees, but it is a reality sometimes. And if they are, then maybe they won't feel that wonder for a while yet. But trust me, they will get to that stage. I can't guarantee you'll get your ex back, but I can almost certainly guarantee that your ex or dumper will come to a point of where they do wonder about you. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about when they realise you've gone. And point number 3 is missing you. So if you're a dumpee, this is the holy grail. This is the golden moment you're looking for to try and get your ex back. You can't get your ex back unless they miss you. And they can't miss you if you are always within their life. So this is why, as a dumpee, you have no real choice but to go on your own path, to go on your own journey, to actively go from your dumper's mindset. This is your best opportunity. And if and when you activate this lifestyle change, you're going to move through the phases that I've spoke of previously of your ex or dumper feeling kind of okay about things, if not a little bit surprised, then to wondering about you, and then moving to missing you. Now, this will be linked to the dumper's own life, and most dumpers are going to struggle to find a new long-term compatible partner in the year or so post-breakup with you. So even if they're dating somebody new, it's unlikely to last the test of time if they meet within a year or so of the breakup. Even beyond that point, there's no guarantee they will be in a forever relationship, but as the years tick by post-breakup, your ex or dumper is more likely to meet somebody that may be long-term compatible. That's just the reality. But if they've met somebody, this could be a situation where during that time, they're not thinking about you as much. But if and when this breakup takes place, this new breakup with this new person, which it likely will, if they met within a year or so after your breakup, then when that happens, this is when a dumper is going to be wondering about you more and more and more until it completely evolves and develops into full-blown missing you. And this is where, as a dumpee, you stand an excellent opportunity of one day getting your ex back sometime soon from that point of your ex or dumper starting to miss you properly and full on. Because when we get to that stage, what that means is that the level of romantic emotional attraction, which sadly decreased to the necessary low point originally why they dumped you, has now started to slowly but surely grow once more. And when it hits the necessary high point, this is when they will reach out to you. Now, as a dumpee, what you do beyond that point is going to be absolutely crucial. Moving from the no contact phase to the communication stage is a very exciting but turbulent period. You haven't got your ex back yet if and when they reach out to you, but you have moved closer and a step towards your ultimate goal. So if your ex or dumper gets to a point of missing you, they will likely be single, but not necessarily. They might be dating somebody, just not really feeling it, and really starting to realise that the grass wasn't greener. But if and when you hear from your ex or dumper, like I said, it's so important to navigate the communication stage effectively so you can get to a point of meeting. And if you do this, you are very, very close indeed to getting your ex back. So stay positive, dumpees. You might not get your ex back tomorrow, but there's every chance you could hear from them again within the next 6 months or so. And if you do, reconnection is certainly possible. There is no guaranteed way to get your ex back. Nothing works 100% of the time, and nothing fails 100% of the time. But what I strongly believe in is that if you live your life the right way, you will increase your chance of success. You will increase your chance of getting your ex back, and you will increase your chance of making sure that in the future you don't break up again. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.